coverage of Bloodwork by iDemo Games, currently on GameFound Now. The campaign is live. I am going to continue my coverage of the prototype, which is Chapter 1 in its entirety. So at the completion of my town phase video, we left off having completed the town phase, leveling up our characters, buying new gear, which I've actually changed what I bought from what I showed you in the last video, so I'll cover that before we dive into the next scenario. Okay, just to walk you through this, this was the beginning of the main quest where we read some flavor text when we arrived at the shores of the Danemark, and we eventually triggered the fight with Gigarat the Unhinged, which is 1.1. Eventually we were successful and we read this little flavor text of our outro from that scenario, and then we went into the west of Westarch 1.3, which was a big chunk of narrative leading to unlocking the blacksmith and entering our first town phase. Upon completion of the town phase, we then go back to the Chapter 1 quest guide, which I'll show you now. So here's the Chapter 1 quest guide. We see at the top that we've completed the main quest on page 5.4, which brought us from 1 to 1.3 on that page. And we've finished the town phase, which directs us back to page 28. We're on page 28-29 now. And we see that up next is our first side quest, and we roll for this. So here is the side quest table. Numbers 1 through 10 represent the 10 side quests in Chapter 1 that we can randomly encounter based on our rolls. And where this is our first side quest, any one of these are open to us. And there are 7 regular side quests and the potential to obtain an escalation side quest, which often leads to that elite or named boss, where we can snag some unique loot, some better equipment. It's probably more challenging, but definitely what we want to do. And so how this works is if we were to roll a d10 and we rolled 1, 2, or 3, we'd end up doing a side quest within this chain, and we'd first have to beat number 2 or number 3 before automatically doing the escalation for that side quest chain as our next side quest. And then if we were to come back after doing the escalation successfully, when we are told to do another side quest, we'd roll a d10, and depending on where we land, we would then do one of the 3 blues, 5, 6, or 7, and then the escalation, or we would do 9 or 10, and then do the escalation number 8. So that's sort of how that works. Let's go ahead and roll now and see which one we're doing. And we have a 6, so we are going to do Knights of Zalgarin. Okay, we'll use that as an example, but unfortunately I realized that my good friend Guy Hobbs and local artist here in Nova Scotia, Canada, still has the rest of the minis and painting them. So we cannot do that one as I do not have the assets, but let's go ahead and pretend that we rolled a 1, giving us a choice then, because we can't go direct to the escalation. So we rolled a 1, so then let's choose either 2 or 3. The Greenskin Butcher or the Goblin Captain. If we get a 1 or 1 through 5, we'll do number 2. If we get a 6 through 10, we'll do number 3. So we have a 2, so let's do the Greenskin Butcher. Now that brings us to S1.4 on page 56, the Greenskin Butcher intro. Apparently, Gigarat isn't the only skilled goblin archer in the region. One of the townsfolk warned us of a green-skinned butcher who picked off his wife and children by one by one, as they fled the family farm. If we're going to make a dent in the troubles that plague the Danemark, stories like this need to all have the same bloody end. So it says distance 2 and then continue to S1.5. When a quest is challenging, it often is further away. This distance 2 represents the time it takes our group of mercenaries to travel to S1.5 and see the next step in this encounter. And so for every one distance, we encounter a random event. So let's take a look at the event table. Similar to rolling on the side quest table events, there are also 10 in Chapter 1. I don't know if more will be unlocked as stretch goals during the campaign, but you roll a d10 to randomly determine which event you trigger. And so let's go ahead and roll a d10, and we get 1. So we are actually going to do the first one here, called the Broken Carriage. I'm going to swing around the table. Actually, I'm just going to steal this so I can see it. So let's just go ahead and read this to you. The forest had long since begun reclaiming the old farm road, roots tearing through what little path remained. That's when we saw it, a shattered carriage lying on its side, one wheel spinning lazily in the wind like a broken compass. Flies buzzed thick in the air. Closer inspection revealed the source, a man pinned beneath the wreckage, his features gnawed, sunken, and far too still. That is, until his eyes opened. He had died days ago, of pain, of thirst, or both, and then come back wrong. Now he clawed at the air with broken fingers, bound by the weight of wood and fate, but the glint of unopened crates inside the carriage promised potential spoils. The question remains, do we help the man who no longer is, or leave him to rot? Do we attempt to free the driver? Gather your strongest, make a combined might check, roll 4d10, plus all might bonuses. The target is 35. I think we go for that. That sounds like fun. Here we are. And we have a 5, 4, 4, and 9. That is 13, 17, 22. Not even close. The wood wouldn't give. We lifted, cursed, and then crack. The weight slipped and crushed what remained of his skull with a sickening crunch. No glory in that death, but his pockets still held something of worth. Gain, roll once on the chapter level humanoid loot table, the chapter 1 level humanoid loot table, and end the event. Okay, rolling once on the humanoid level 1 table, we get a 2, which is a leather. Okay, coming back to our side quest, the Greenskin Butcher, we see that that event was equal to 1 distance traveled towards the event. So we have 1 more distance to travel as a company, so we need to do another event. The goblin archer was difficult to track down, but his thirst for carnage proved to be his undoing. Following blood trails from and around the farm finally led us to the butcher's lair north of Withermore. His little hovel in the woods was decorated with the bones of his kills, too many to count or piece together how many had fallen to his deadly arrows. Continue to the battle on page 42. Okay, you guys, here we see the board all set up for the Greenskin Butcher, our first side quest that we finished traveling to. We see that the enemies on the board are 1 Goblin Sticker miniature, which actually represents the Goblin Sticker Elite 2. I'll show you his card in a moment, as well as 4 Goblin Wrecker 2. I'll show you his card or their cards as well. We also have 4 unique starting positions for our mercenaries. I haven't decided where I'm actually going to put whom yet, but I will show you that once done. I'll quickly read the introduction. The Greenskin Butcher and his crew huddled near a small fire pit, ignorant of our footfalls amidst their raucous celebration. We flanked them as best we could, using the terrain to our advantage. Our ambush would need to begin where we stand. Venturing any closer would certainly alert the goblins we can see to our presence, let alone the ones who may be sleeping in the tents. Even with the element of surprise, we must be cautious. Hunters, especially bloodthirsty goblin hunters, are quite fond of their traps. Drops in this scenario: if we successfully win, we get 3 rolls on Elite Level 1 loot table, and 1 roll per killed grunt on the Humanoid Level 1 loot table. The rewards are 20 experience for each mercenary and 10 gold coins for the party, and we get to roll on Random Recipe Level 2 loot table. Special conditions: at the start of the battle, a random mercenary walks into a trap. Roll an agility check to see if the mercenary evades the trap. If not, they take 5 true damage and are inflicted with Immobilize. Goblin Wreckers have knockback +2 in this battle. The Wreckers will prioritize knocking back mercenaries into traps, and, if at the start of their activation are in position to do so, will ignore the order phase to accomplish their knockback into trap task. Flying units are unaffected by traps. Fire is also considered a trap, and if a unit is knocked back into it, they will receive 5 true damage and are inflicted with burn. Mercenaries adjacent to dig tokens may choose to dig as a free action. On 5+, you find 2 gold. If you fail 2 digs during the battle, the 3rd dig will be an automatic success. However, there are only 2 dig locations on the setup for this map, so I don't think that applies. And then roll X times for the remaining tokens with success on 10+. Okay, next we have the Goblin Wrecker 2. There are 4 of these on the board. They have a range of 1. They hit on a 5+. They get 3 for their attack rate, 3 die, and they inflict 4 damage for every successful hit. They have 20 health. They have 7 movement or speed, and their highest armor slot rating is a 3 protection value on the chest. On tactics, they inflict knockdown and sentry. And the leader for this battle is the Goblin Sticker Elite 2, who has a speed of 7, a range of 7, as he's an archer, hits on a 5+, has 4 for attack rate, 4 die, and inflicts 4 damage for every successful hit. He has 25 health, a speed of 7, his highest armor rating is 2, and on a successful tactics, he inflicts bleed, thorns +2, and disengage. The randomly dealt heirloom card for this leader is the Greater Soulstone. He will have attack rate +1 for every 2 grunts we kill during this scenario, and we can acquire it from him if we kill him while he's enraged. If we do that, and when we use this in future scenarios as an accessory, the mercenary carrying it will have attack rate +1 for each 2 grunts killed in any particular scenario. Okay, I just wanted to quickly show you the changes I made from the town phase after my last video. Originally I had bought the matching copper bracers and legs for 9 gold, but I decided to return them as they didn't give me too much benefit other than avoiding knockback and a set bonus with the arms if I were to get one more piece. Instead, I bought the spiked shield to replace my basic shield, my wooden shield. It still gives me the same protection, the same flat protection value of +1, but I get block, which allows me on every attack towards Halbjorn, I get to roll 2 die, and for every 8+, I reduce the damage by 2, and I also gain thorns +2. So we're going to add thorns +2 here, and now any melee unit attacking him, even if they miss, we inflict 2 true damage. And we now see the addition of thorns 2 for Halbjorn. So I think it is imperative now that we try to get him right in the mix so that if the enemies are targeting the nearest mercenary, he's always going to be inflicting thorn damage on everyone, whittling away their health. Okay, I've decided to put Mary here as it is one of the furthest spots away from the enemies, but keeps her within range of being able to inflict some damage this round. Saren is way over here because it is 11 spaces away from the closest enemy, and she can move within range from bow distance to do some work. and Halbjorn is closest at 9 spaces away here, equidistant with Maeve to the red and blue. So I'll try to get these two in there and support via distance with my other two. Okay, at the start of the battle, a random mercenary walks into a trap. Roll an agility check to see if the mercenary evades the trap. Let's say that from left to right, 1 to 2 is Mary, 3 to 4 is Halbjorn, and so forth. We have an 8, which would be Saren. So let's do an agility check for Saren. Okay, so we'll roll that agility check in a minute to see if Saren actually walks into that trap or successfully evades it. If not, she will take 5 true damage and be inflicted with Immobilize. Now, ability checks have a flat base success rate on a 10 plus. So you roll a d10 and then add the proficiency for that particular stat to your roll, and if it's 10 or greater, then you've passed that check. In this instance, Maeve has a agility of 6, so gets a +3 from the proficiency. So we need to roll a 7 or better. And we get a 9. So that is 12. Maeve has successfully, as she's there, we rolled an 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. She has successfully evaded walking into that trap. That is huge for us walking into this fight. Now again, the setup of this scenario, there's the caveat that wreckers have knockback +2 in this battle. In an effort to not forget that, I'm just going to place a token on each to remember that they all have something. And we hopefully won't miss that. Okay, let's go ahead and draw our first card from the Fate deck. And we have Goblin Sticker, and the leader goes first here. It says cover fire. If no allies are present, discard and draw again. And there are allies present, so we are fortunate that he does not activate. I promise I shuffled this deck before the beginning of this video. So he does not get to activate. We get to go next. This is great. I'm looking at the board and I'm not liking my positioning in terms of getting close to the enemies and being able to do something effective while also being in a spot that doesn't put me at risk to all the knockback these goblin wreckers have and putting me into these various traps or fire. So I'm actually going to do something, gambit a couple of my characters. So I'm going to gambit Saren and move 1, 2, 3, and I am going to gambit Maeve, who also has 3, to there. I realize I did that a little out of turn because we already did the first Fate card, but I am just trying to be cognizant of the knockback those wreckers have, so I kind of am house ruling here a little bit, as I really should have done the gambit before drawing that card. But regardless, I'm going to house rule that one a little bit, and hopefully you'll forgive me. Okay, let's then take our first turn. I am going to use Saren first to move up just enough to be within range of the orange goblin wrecker, which she has a range of 5, so she needs to be here at minimum, but I don't want to be in a position where they can move up and knock her back into a trap. So I'm going to move her here so that she can only be knocked back this way or that way, and then I'm going to make an attack on the orange goblin wrecker. Again, she starts with 1 focus, but does not generate any until the end of her turn, so we don't get to use any skills at this time. We have a 3, a 2, and an 8. An 8 is a successful hit. The 3 and 2 do not add up to 10, so they are not. That is 3 damage heading towards the Goblin Wrecker in orange. Let's draw a blood card, and we see we've hit the body. They have 3 armor on their body slot, so we do not inflict any damage. That will conclude Saren's turn, but we will gain our 3 focus to move up to a total of 4. Okay, next let's activate Maeve. She uses mana, so on activation gains 2 for a total of 4. Let's spend 2, dropping her back to 2 to trigger Zeal, range X, grant quickness to an ally, and we'll put that on Halbjorn, giving him increased movement on his activation. Let's go ahead now, after using that skill, to move Maeve closer to the enemies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to do a basic attack. She rolls 3 die, and on a 9 plus crits and inflicts 3 damage per successful hit. We have an 8, a 0, and a 4. That is 2 successful hits. One of them is a crit. Let's draw a blood deck card, and we are hitting the head with 1 additional damage, so that's 6 plus 1 is 7. Targeting the head where the Wreckers have 1 armor, that is 6 damage to Wrecker Red, dropping him from 20 to 14 HP. I am moving his tracker down. Now don't let me forget that Maeve has Thorns 1, so if anyone tries to attack her on the enemy activation, she will inflict true damage to adjacent enemy. As Halbjorn only has Fury after successfully hitting an enemy, I don't have the ability to, even with Unbridled Fury, gain enough this turn to do Whirlwind or Battle Shout, so I'm going to keep his shield equipped and be more defensive on this first turn. Let's go ahead and spend Quickness for 3 additional movement with our total speed of 6 at base now due to our level up. We are going to have a total movement of 9. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This puts us in a position where we're adjacent to 2 enemies and cannot be knocked back into any traps. Okay, I'm going to target the orange goblin sticker. I get 2 die because I have an attack rate of 3, but I'm going to use the option on my runed battle hammer to drop my attack rate and get overpower plus 3 instead. So I'm only rolling 2 die. Let's see what happens. We have a 2 and a 5. Neither are a hit. I hit on a 7 plus. Let's use our combat reroll to reroll the 2, and we get a 1. So we have completely whiffed with Halbjorn, and that ends his turn. We do not gain any fury. Let's activate Mary. She gets 2 mana for a total of 4. Let's move her up to be within range of the orange goblin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's at a range of 3 and can use her Ring of Fire with an attack rate of 3, hitting on a 7 plus for 3 damage per hit. She has a 1, a 7, and a 9. We have 2 hits, which is 6 damage, and she has Spell Overpower, so that is 7. Let's see where she hits, and she is hitting the legs or the arms. Both of those have a protection value of 2. So 7 minus 2 is 5 damage to the orange sticker, and we are also gaining offense up, reducing the health on the goblin sticker from 20 to 15. I have now moved and made a basic attack action with Mary. Let's take a look at her skills quickly. With 4 mana total following her activation, we can spend 3 to reduce down to 1 mana remaining to trigger Bolt of Lightning to do another magical attack to that same goblin. Rolling 3 die. We have a 8, a 7, and a 2. That is again 2 hits to the Goblin sticker or Goblin Wrecker in orange, going to the head where they have an armor of 1. So 7 minus 1 is 6 more damage to the Wrecker in orange, dropping him to 9 health remaining. Okay, looking back at that first fate card we had drawn, it says route, attack closest enemies. If the target is in the leader's range, attack has exploit and precision. I probably should have read ahead for that. Oh well. Okay, which means that any of the wreckers are going to ignore my armor but not my base protection on this round. And if they were needing to draw a line of sight through another unit, they would ignore that as well with precision. As I have the Goblin Wreckers blue, red, gray, and orange respectively in this order, that's how we will activate them. Blue is at 20, red is at 14, gray is at 20, and orange is at 9 remaining HP. Okay, they roll 3 die and hit on a 5 plus, and 4 damage for every hit. The closest enemy to the first activating wrecker is Maeve, so we're going to go ahead and roll 3 die and see what happens. They have a 4, a 1, and a 4. That is a complete whiff. No hit, no damage, no knockback. Let's go ahead then and move to Goblin Wrecker Red, who is next in the turn order and is also going to target Maeve. Again, 3 die, hitting on a 5 plus, 2, 3, and 4. My goodness, we are fortunate there for Maeve. Let's go ahead and move to Goblin Wrecker Gray, who's going to target Halbjorn. 3 die, hitting on 5 plus. We have an 8, a 7, and an 8. Our good fortune has run out. That is 12 damage headed towards Halbjorn. Let's grab a blood deck. And we unfortunately see a tactics. So this is going to be heading towards our head. We have a base protection value of 2. So 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 damage to Halbjorn will reduce him from 35 health to 25. So I'll make that change now. And he also, correction, one moment, Halbjorn does have his new spiked shield, which allows him to roll 2 die, and for every 8 plus he reduces damage by 2. He gets an 8, so that 10 damage is actually only 8. Let me increase my health quickly to 27. Perfect. So that shield was definitely helpful. But he will be knocked back 2 spaces, which he's going to stop there actually and not push Mary. But he and Mary are both going to suffer 2 true damage from that as slam damage. And Halbjorn also needs to make a resilience check on the knockdown inflicted by the tactics, and he succeeds on an 8 plus, and we have a 3, so unfortunately he is in fact knocked down. I'm not certain if this is the token for Sentry, but part of his tactics is to also upon knockdown, also cause Sentry, which allows him to make an attack of opportunity to any enemy that enters or leaves adjacency. An interesting fact is that Gambit does not trigger Sentry, so let's keep that in mind. Okay, now let's take Goblin Wrecker Orange's turn. He's again going to attack the closest enemy, which is Halbjorn, and he is going to move over 1 space in order to attempt to knock Halbjorn back into a structure. The special conditions read Goblin Wreckers will prioritize knocking back mercenaries into traps, and if at the start of their activation are in a position to do so, will ignore the order phase to accomplish their knockback into trap task. There's no way to do that, and neither Mary nor the hut are a trap, so I'm going to choose to have him positioned here rather than there, so that if he does get knocked back, he'll hit the structure and not Mary. Rolling 3 die, hitting on a 5, we have a 7, 4, and 4, so that is only 1 hit for 4 damage, but he will be knocked back and slam against the building for 2 additional true damage, as well as 2 true damage for being knocked down. That's a total of 8 damage heading towards Halbjorn. Let's draw a card, and we see that it is hitting Halbjorn on the body. He has a protection value of 2, but because the fate card said route, then the target is and he is within the leader's range, then they would get exploit and precision. As a result of exploit, I can't use Halbjorn's armor, his body, his chest plate, his heavy leather armor, to help negate some of that damage. So that is 8 minus my innate protection of 2 for 6 damage. Dropping Halbjorn to 19 health, ending this round. Going to go ahead and move up that enrage tracker, and there we have that done now. Okay, before we go on to the next fate card, Mary is squishy and adjacent to a trap, and wreckers have a speed of 7 in this scenario. So this orange one could get into range here, so regardless of activation order, he would go right away in order to attack her to hopefully knock her into a trap per the special scenario rules. So I'm going to use Gambit here to get her out of range of that. Let's move her 1, 2, 3, so she's on a diagonal from the trap, making it impossible to trigger that. So Halbjorn is the only one with Gambit left. Let's go ahead and draw our next fate card, seeing what happens this round. And we have Close Ranks. So at the grunts are going to attack the enemy closest to the leader, which is Maeve. As no mercenaries are in a position where they could be pushed into a trap at this moment, we won't need to trigger that special rule. So the first grunt that is within range of Maeve is the blue wrecker, then the red wrecker, so they won't move. The gray wrecker will go next and go here, and the orange wrecker will then attempt to get over there. Okay, the blue wrecker is going to go first and roll 3 die, hitting on a 5+. They have a 3, a 4, and an 8. That's only 1 hit towards Maeve. That's 4 damage plus knockback 2. So she is going to boom, boom to there. And 4 damage. Let's see what happens. We have a tactics card against Maeve. So that is going to inflict knockdown and sentry and target her weakest spot, which doesn't matter because right now that would be her head where there's no armor anyways. So that is 4 damage to the head minus 1 protection is 3 damage. Let's roll to try to resist that knockback. We succeed on a resilience check of 8+. And we have a 6, so Maeve is unfortunately knocked down. And that wrecker is going to gain sentry. So we will put a token on him as well to that effect. I don't know if this is the right token, but that's what we're going to use. And the red wrecker will go next then, taking the shortest distance to the closest enemy to the leader, which is still Maeve at 5, as Halbjorn is 6 away.
and where he can knock back into a trap, he will go here, and he's going to make an attack for 3 die, and we have 2 successful hits, which is 8 damage, plus 2 for being down on the ground is 10 damage. And drawing the blood deck, we see it targets the arms, where we do not have any armor, so it's 10 minus 1 is 9 damage. Okay, and because she's knocked back 2 spaces, she crosses this trap, which instantly inflicts 5 true damage. She just took a total of 12 damage from the 2 goblin wreckers, dropping her from 20 to 8. And now she's taking 5 more, dropping her to 3, and she gets immobilized. Next to activate would be the Gray Goblin Wrecker here, who would normally, per the Fate card, go to the enemy closest to the leader, which is now Halbjorn, where Maeve was pushed twice. However, because she is in a position to be knocked back still into the trap, I believe this gray sticker or wrecker is going to move up and attempt to do that. This is not looking good for us now, so I'm going to go ahead and move the goblin wrecker there. Now he has sentry. Any unit moving into adjacency or exiting would be attacked by him, but where he's the one moving and someone else isn't, I don't think that triggers. But he is going to go ahead and attempt to make an attack on Maeve, who's still on the ground, and attempt to knock her back into this trap. But she is immobilized, so I don't know if she actually can be knocked back. I just checked the rules and there's nothing stating that they can't, so we're going to go ahead and roll and hope that there is a big whiff here. And there is a 7, so unfortunately they have struck, and regardless of the damage calculation, she's being pushed back 2 spots. As knockback plus 2, I don't think is something that can be rolled against as a resilience check as compared to something like knockdown. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but she would instantly take 5 true damage, reducing her health to 0. So let's go ahead and roll a cheat death on an 8+. Stands back up at 1 health. No, she is incapacitated and will take an injury card, and we have drawn a minor injury. So max health is reduced by -3. So as long as we have this, she can only heal up to 17 unless we get rid of that in town. All right, so Maeve is incapacitated. 3 of the 4 wreckers have gone. The orange wrecker will go next. And now Halbjorn is the closest mercenary. He's already standing adjacent, so he's going to roll, and rolls a 1, a 2, and a 10. So Halbjorn is already on the ground and will get 2 damage for being knocked down. 2 damage knocked back into this is 4 damage, and will get 4 damage from the 10, so that's 8 damage total, plus whatever we draw on the blood deck, which is the arms. So 8 total minus 2 base protection is 6 damage to Halbjorn, reducing him to 13 health. Okay, that's twice now that he has been knocked back into this tent. Tents have a HP value of 3. That would be 2 true damage from 2 slams, so a total of 4 slam damage to this tent. So it would be destroyed. When you destroy destructible terrain like this, you get to roll a luck check, and in this instance it's Halbjorn being thrown into it, so we're going to roll a luck for him. He has a +2 proficiency, so he needs to roll an 8+ to succeed here, in which case he would gain 1 gold from the destruction of this building. But if he rolls a total value of 1 through 3, and there is a 1, we would instead revive 1 dead wrecker as a result of this tent. As no wreckers are dead, none get revived. Those rules are under the rules for terrain in the rule book. Please correct me if I'm interpreting that wrong. Of note, he still has his spiked shield equipped, and I did not roll to try to mitigate some of that damage, so let's roll 2 die, and on an 8+, did not get it. And I believe I missed one prior to this as well, so I'm going to roll it now, and I have 1 8, so I'm just going to give him 2 health back, because we're already in dire straits. Now the other thing I forgot to do is that's the 3rd time Halbjorn has been struck in melee range. First by the Grey Goblin and twice by the Orange Goblin. That will lead to 2 thorn damage to each of them, twice to the orange one as a result of his shield. So I'm glad I caught that. So the gray one will go down from 20 to 16. To 18. The orange wrecker will go down 1, 2, 3, 4, down to 5 health remaining. Okay, taking a look at the Fate deck card, we see that we go next, and it says interrupt. If leader is slammed, we avoid his aimed shot, where he would attack the closest enemy, which I believe is Maeve. She's incapacitated, which would be Halbjorn, and it would be with -2 to attack rate, but accuracy would be +2 and offense +5. He already has an offense of 4, so he would inflict 9 damage for any hit. That is brutal. Definitely want to avoid that, so I am going to spend 1 action to stand Halbjorn up from knockdown. I am going to do a free action to switch his shield to his blacksmith's hammer in the offhand, giving him knockback. And then I am going to spend 1 action to move adjacent to the Goblin Sticker Elite, and I am going to attempt to hit him to get knockback to interrupt if the leader is slammed. I'm going to get a little gutsy here to try to get some damage inflicted too, and still trigger my attack rate -1 for overpower +3. Again, I hit on a 7+, so I need to roll a 7+ here, but I do have my combat reroll. No, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to roll all 3. I have a 7, a 5, and a 4. The 5 and 4 make 9, which is not a successful hit. So I'm going to take the 4 and roll that again. And that is a 7, which regardless is another hit. So I have 2 hits. He is knocked back. I will slam him against the tent, so we will interrupt this attack. But let's calculate our damage then. So we have 2 hits with 2 offense is 4 damage, plus overpower is 5. We'll draw a blood deck, and we see that we are targeting the boss in the arms, which has an armor value of 2, so that's 3 damage that gets through. But he does hit the building and gets slammed for 2 additional damage for a total of 5, which will drop him from 25 to 20 damage. Halbjorn has redeemed himself, finally struck an enemy, and will gain 2 fury this turn. Thank goodness. Okay, next I'm going to trigger Mary, and she's currently at 2 mana. I'm going to increase that to, 1 mana, increase that to 3. As she activates, she gains 2. And I am going to... I'm just catching again that she has evasion. Evasion allows her to do an evasion chance roll. So when Halbjorn was knocked back into her, she may have been able to evade that on an 8+. So I'm going to roll that quickly, and we get a 6, so it does not matter. So she did take the 2 damage. So ignore that. I'm going to attempt to just get rid of the orange goblin sticker. He's got 5 health left. We need to minimize how much damage we take every round. She rolls 3 attack die and hits on a 7+. She has a 5, a 1, and an 8. So she has 1 hit on the goblin wrecker in orange, and she strikes the body where they have 3 armor, unfortunately, and inflicts no damage. Correction, she does have spell overpower 1, making that 4, so she would inflict 1 damage to the orange wrecker, dropping him to 4. I'm going to then have her use 3 mana to trigger Bolt of Lightning to be able to get a second attack in. So I'm decreasing her mana now off screen to 0, and we will make that attack again, hoping that we inflict 4 damage. So we have an 8, an 8, and a 5. That is 2 successful hits. That is 6 damage plus 1 for spell overpower is 7. We draw a new blood card and get the legs. The legs have a armor rating of 2. 7 minus 2 is 5, and he has 4 health left, so the orange goblin wrecker is eliminated, and I'm going to grab her a goblin head, and I'm going to put it on her board. We will move the goblin head tracker up to 7, and he has been vanquished. Okay, now both the gray and blue wrecker have sentry. I don't want to move within their range to trigger a free opportunity attack. So with Maeve, I am going to first do my free action that is on her portrait card to heal. Does it say? It says free action range X, heal an ally for 2. You are your own ally. And as she is the lowest HP right now, I'm going to give her 2, so she's now at 12. And I'm going to move the Restoration Expert up by 1 for her. She's 1 away from getting her achievement. Next, I'm going to trigger a move action, 1, 2, 3, 4, to be behind the red wrecker. Did not trigger an opportunity attack here. And Maeve does gain 2 mana, so she's at 4. She is going to make a regular attack to the goblin in red. She rolls 3 die, hits on a 7, crits on a 9, and she has a 8, an 8, and a 4, so we have 2 hits. That is 6 damage. No spell overpower, so we have 6 damage, and that is going to the body or the legs. The legs are 2 armor, so that is 4 damage to the red goblin wrecker, dropping it to 10 health. Let's go ahead then and do Death and Life, which is attack with range plus 2 on damage, range 8, heal ally for 3 or dispel 1. So we're going to do that and just attack the same goblin wrecker. So her mana is going to drop to 1 from 4. That's the cost of that skill. So she's made a move action, a free action, an attack action, now a skill action. and she has 2 crits, 10, 10, and 4. This is huge. Okay, so that is 6 damage to the Goblin Wrecker. Let's draw the first blood card, and we have, yes, 4 additional crit damage. That is a total of 10 damage right there to the head. We'll draw the second crit card, and we get 2 more. That is 12 damage total to the head for the Red Goblin Wrecker. Minus 1 armor is 11. They only have 10 health left, so the Red Goblin is eliminated. That was massive. Beautiful. Now check this out. On damage, range X, heal an ally for 3. I'm going to do that to Maeve, increasing her to 15. And that is healing another ally, which puts her up to 6 on her achievement track, and she has successfully unlocked Restoration Expert for healing other allies 6 times. On critical hit, you may convert critical damage to healing an ally within a range of 6. That is massive. That would have been so good on this last turn. Okay, so she's made all of her available actions, has 1 mana left, and does receive a Goblin Head. I'm going to give her that now. And the Red Goblin is eliminated from the board. Now recall, if per the heirloom card on the boss, if for every 2 grunts killed, the boss's attack rate is now going to go up by 1. So I'm going to give them a token to denote that so we don't forget. I'm just going to give them this one. There we go. Okay, that is all turns taken for us. So back to the fate card. We now see the boss activates where we successfully interrupted him. He is going to skip this text and instead just make a normal attack on the closest enemy, which will be Halbjorn. So he's just attacking Halbjorn right here. Now they have a range of 7, so he's not going to move. He gets to roll 5 die right now. He has a normal attack rate of 4, but because we've killed 2 grunts, it's now 5. He hits on a 5+. I only have 4d10, so we'll roll these and then add 1. There is a 1, 1, 9, and 7, so 2 hits. Let's roll 1 more again. And that is an 8, a 3rd hit. So that is 12 damage headed towards Halbjorn from the leader, and he is hitting us on the body. In this case, there's no longer exploit, so that is 12 damage minus our base protection of 2 plus our chest plate of 2 is 4. So that's 8 damage towards Halbjorn. He no longer has his shield equipped, so I cannot roll to try to mitigate some of that. However, we did buy him the Copper Helm, which has protection +1 against physical ranged attacks, which this is, so that would also drop the damage from 8 to 7. So only 7 damage to Halbjorn, so he drops from 15 to 8 remaining HP. Okay, that is the end of that round. I am moving the Enrage tracker up to level 2 off camera there, and we are going to just clean up the board and get ready for this next round. Here we go. I forgot to mention when when Maeve was knocked from here to there, she still had immobilize. However, when revived by another mercenary, your health goes to 10 and all buffs, debuffs get removed. So she was able to make that move action. Okay, next fate card. Let's see what happens. We have the hated foe, and this is the leader going first. Attack the healthiest enemy with overpower +3. Now, the leader has a range of 7. The healthiest enemy is Saren, and Saren is currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, range 7. From one corner of the boss's square, there is definitely line of sight to 2 corners on Saren from this one corner, so she's currently in range and the boss does not need to move. So he's going to make a standard attack with overpower +3. So again, 5 die, hitting on a 5+. I'm going to re-roll this one. Okay, we have 3 hits plus 1 more. Well, that hit that die. Let's re-roll it. There you go. 4 hits. My goodness. That is 16 damage headed towards her. +3 overpower is 19. Drawing a blood deck card that is targeting the body. There's at least that small victory for us. So 19 minus our base protection of 1 and our armor of 1 is 17 damage of our 25 health, giving us 8 remaining. That was absolutely crippling for Saren. My goodness. But that does end the boss's turn, and now it is our turn. Coming up next is the grunts, and it says, get that one. Attack the leader's target with overpower +3, which would be Saren again. Okay, I think we probably need to try to just cut our losses, as I feel like we've taken a lot of damage and haven't done a whole lot to the units on the board as of yet. So I'm going to activate Saren first because she currently has 7 banked focus and will gain 3 more at the end of this activation. So I'm going to spend 5 of that right now to use Suppress, which is attack with AoE and inflict exposed. And I can pick any target. I'm going to target this square right here, and exposed allows me to hit, or suppress allows me to hit a 3x3 square. So I would hit both of these units without hitting any of my allies. So I make a regular attack with AoE and inflict exposed. And where this is an AoE, I just need to hit and it applies to both units. I don't roll separately on this one. So rolling 3 die, hitting on a 7+. We have a crit, a 7, and a 6. So 2 hits, one of them is a crit. Let's go ahead and draw a blood card, and we get the 3 additional. That is a total of 9 damage headed towards the head for both of these units. Both head armor slots for the Wrecker and the Sticker Elite is a protection value of 1, so 9 minus 1 is 8 damage to both of those enemies. So the blue Wrecker is going to drop from 20 to 12 remaining HP, and the leader is going to drop from 20 to 12 remaining HP. And they are both going to get exposed. And exposed means that the all damage coming in is true damage, so ignores all armor. So exposed causes all incoming damage to be considered true damage. So that is super helpful here, and both of them have that. Okay, so Saren has made a massive hit here, has 2 remaining focus, so I can't do anything with that, but she can still make a regular attack action. And I think what I'm going to do is attack the blue goblin wrecker with her, try to get one more grunt head, because he has the sentry, and I don't want them to take a turn or have one of us trigger that. And if I don't kill him with Saren now, I think I move Mary up, try to nuke him, get him off the board, clearing the way for Maeve to come up and do some business against the leader. So let's go ahead and roll 3 die again for Saren for a basic attack on the blue grunt. Here we go. I have a crit and a 9, and I do not have a 10 there, so that's only 1 hit, but that is a crit. 3 damage plus a blood card for 2 more is 5 damage, and that is all considered true damage to the head as a result of exposed, which I will now remove. So all 5 of that gets through, and he is reduced to 7 HP remaining. I'll finish Saren's turn by moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces so that this wrecker can't target her, and instead would have to target the next closest enemy, which would likely be Mary or Maeve, who have more health than Saren at this moment. So Saren finishes her turn with 5 focus, and has used all of her actions. So up next, I think I'll bring Mary up. So Mary's going to activate, gain 2 mana for a total of 2, so she can't use any skills, unfortunately, this turn, but she's going to move up 1, 2, diagonal, so doesn't trigger sentry, 3, 4, 5, 6. Being here again also won't trigger any potential knockback into traps. Okay, Mary's going to make a basic attack against the blue wrecker, 3 attack rate, hitting on a 7+. We have a 5, 4, and 3. That is not what we were looking for. That is 12. That is 1 hit for Mary. That's 3 damage. Depending on what she hits, we may get some. It's the body. So she's only going to get 1 damage through because she does have spell overpower. So 4 minus 3 on the wrecker is 1 damage, dropping him to 6 remaining HP. Mary doesn't have enough mana to do any skills, so that is going to end her turn there. Next, I'm going to trigger Maeve, and Maeve has 1 mana right now. We'll gain 2 more, so she can either attempt to do Death and Life, and yeah, that's what she's going to do. So she's going to trigger Death and Life, attack with range +2, and on damage, range 8, heal ally for 3. So she has a range of 1, so a range of 3 is where she needs to be in order to attack this unit. So I'm going to move her here, and she will make an attack with 3 die, critting on a 9, and will hopefully inflict sufficient damage to kill this blue wrecker. A 2, an 8, and a 5. Okay, so unfortunately that's only 1 hit. Let's draw a blood card and see what happens. We target the body, and Maeve does not have spell overpower, so that's 3 damage going to an armor slot of 3 protection, so we don't inflict any damage. However, the attack is still successful, we just didn't cause damage, so we still get to heal an ally for 3. I'll do that to Saren, as she is the target of the leader this round, so per the grunt activation at the bottom, they're going to target her preferentially. So Saren will increase her health by 3 from 8 to 11. And finally, I'll finish Maeve's turn because I already moved. I can't move again by triggering the free action on her portrait card to heal an ally for 2. And I'm going to give it again to Saren, where I know Saren's going to be targeted here, and it may get expensive. So that puts her up to 13 health. So that is the end of Saren, Maeve, and Mary. Halbjorn is left. Let's go ahead and activate Halbjorn then. He's going to make a free action to switch back to his shield. I don't want to knock back the leader into this hut because I don't want to potentially revive a dead wrecker. And knockback would only cause 2 slam damage, whereas my shield inflicts 2 thorn damage. So I'm just going to equip the shield with my free action. I am going to move up 1 to be in a space where I can't be knocked back into traps. Okay, and I am going to forego a basic attack action to trigger his skill Unbridled Fury in place of that to gain 3 Fury and Alacrity. This gives me a total of 5 Fury. I'm now going to spend 4 of it to drop to 1 to use his skill Whirlwind and attack all adjacent enemies. In this case, he's only hitting the goblin leader, but I am triggering Alacrity, which gives me +1 to my attack rate. So now I get to roll 4 die, hitting on a 7+ and inflicting 2 damage per hit. And as you recall, Saren did that AoE attack, which inflicted Exposed, so all hits count as true damage right now. So I'm really hoping to just get some criticals. Let's see how we do. 4 die. We have a 4, a 4, a 3, and a 9. No crits. I'm going to take this 3 and re-roll that. Hopefully we get at least 1 crit here. And we get a 5, but that at least adds to 2 hits. 2 hits is 4 damage, plus 1 overpower is 5 damage. Drawing the blood deck card, we see we have struck the arms, but it doesn't matter because all of our damage is true damage and gets through regardless. So we do 5 damage to the boss, dropping him to 7 remaining HP. And that will conclude Halbjorn's turn. He does gain 2 Fury for hitting the enemy. And recall, he had slammed the boss back once, so I forgot to upgrade or increase his displacement expert. So I'm going to do that now to 5, putting him 1 away from unlocking his achievement. That is all 4 mercenaries completed their turns. Let's go ahead then and trigger the grunts. They're going to attack the leader's target with overpower 3+. So the blue wrecker is going to go first. He has a range of 7 or a speed of 7, so he's going to take the shortest route. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like this better because then I'm not going off the board, which would probably trigger slam damage. So I'm going to do this. He has sentry and knockback, so he's going to roll 3 die and has overpower +3. He's hitting on a 5+. He has 1, 2, 3 hits. My goodness, that is 12 damage plus 3 overpower is 15 damage. Oof. Drawing a blood card, we see they strike the legs, which Saren doesn't have any armor, so that is 15 minus 1 is 14 damage. She has 13 HP. So unfortunately, she is incapacitated unless she is able to successfully cheat death. Cheat death will succeed on a 8+. And we get an 8. Yes! Ugh. These are the moments that if the table was surrounded cooperatively 2-3 friends, that would have been a massive celebration. I don't want to wake my wife though, so I'm not going to cheer too loud. So Saren stays up on the board with 1 HP, and that is great, honestly, because now the other grunt is going to try to get to her if within range. Unfortunately, she is 8 spaces away, or I guess fortunately, so he will not be able to get within range to target her, so he will then go to the next closest enemy, which would be Mary. So he's going to take the shortest route, and I'm going to have him go this way and potentially push Mary closer to... Yeah, he can go there. That's fine. And he's going to do 3 die, where he's not attacking the leader's target anymore. He's just going to make a basic attack. And he hits on a 5+. He has a 3, a 2, and a 9. So that is only 1 hit headed towards Mary for 4 damage. Drawing a blood deck card, we see he hits the body. That is excellent. That gives her 2 protection then between her chest plate and her protection, so that's only 2 damage going through, dropping her from 13 to 11. However, both Saren did get knocked back 2 spaces, and so did Mary. Mary also has this token protection up 1 from that blood deck card she drew earlier, so let me just check that quickly. Sorry, that wasn't protection up, it was offense up, which means she would have caused 1 additional damage when trying to hit that blue goblin, so I'm just going to give him 1 more damage there, putting him at 5 health remaining. And she still keeps that. Okay, so that is the end of the Goblin Wrecker's turns. We will just clean up the board and increase the enraged timer to 3 and prep for the next round. Okay, drawing the next fate card, we see that it is break through. The grunts go first. Attack closest enemies with exploit, meaning they ignore our armor. Blue grunt will go first. The Maeve and Saren are equidistant, but Saren's at 1 HP, so I'm going to have him attack Maeve. Okay, rolling 3 attack die against Maeve, hitting on a 5+. He has a 10 and a 5. That is 2 hits. That is 8 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, he's targeting the body, so that is -2. That will be 6 damage towards Maeve, dropping her from 15 to 9 HP. I forgot to roll a evasion chance for Mary here. There was only 1 hit, and that was the first melee strike against her. So a couple things would have happened. 1, she has thorns, so the gray wrecker should have taken 1 damage, and I forgot to do that. And 2, she had the opportunity to evade that hit entirely by rolling an 8+. So I'm going to do that quickly. And she gets a 6, so it doesn't matter. That did go through. So we'll move on from that. Maeve got struck by this enemy and got inflicted with some damage. Therefore, she will get knocked back 2 spaces. And the next enemy will take the shortest route to attack the closest target, which again is going to be Maeve. As he cannot knock her back into any traps, he's just going to move one space and also roll 3 die. And he hits twice, so that is again 8 damage headed towards Maeve. Drawing from the blood deck, it is targeting the legs, so that is 7 damage heading towards Maeve, dropping her to 2 remaining HP. And that ends the grunt turn. It is now ours. Okay, so it's my turn. Maeve can't move. She has 2 health left. He still has sentry. If she moves, he would get an attack of opportunity. So I need to try to do this strategically. So I think what I'm going to do first is go with Halbjorn, and I am going to do a free action to change him to the offhand weapon to enable knockback, and he is going to move 2 spaces in order to be behind the leader, and he is going to forego his attack action to trigger alacrity, unbridled fury, to gain 3 fury, putting him to 6 plus alacrity, and then he will spend 4 to do whirlwind, dropping him to 2 fury, enabling him to roll 4 die again because of alacrity, which is +1 to the attack rate. And he is going to attack the goblin leader, and he gets a 9, a 6, a 6, and a 3. That is certainly 2 hits here with the 6s and the 9. The 3 we will re-roll, and we get a 5. So that doesn't change. It's just 2 hits. 2 hits is 4 damage towards the goblin sticker elite. +1 overpower is 5. So he's completed all of his actions. He will knock back the leader 4 spaces and end his turn there, gaining 2 fury and finishing with 4 total. That does not contribute to his displacement expert because the leader was not slammed. Next, we will trigger... Sorry, I forgot to draw a blood card. Let's do that now. It targets the leader's legs. He has 2 armor, so 5 minus 2 is 3 damage, dropping him from 7, 1, 2, 3, to 4 remaining HP. Okay, I'm going to get a little gutsy here and try to get greedy. I'm going to trigger Mary next and gain her 2 mana for a total of 4 now. I'm going to move her 3 spaces to be next to this Lost Ledger, and for a free action attempt to dig that up successfully on a 5+, and that is not successful, so that's off the board. I'm then going to spend 3 of my 4 mana to blink, dropping me to 1 mana, and that's going to blink me over here next to this other Lost Ledger, where I will attempt with the free action again on a 5+ to dig that up, and I get a 5, so we get 2 gold from that. 1, 2, I'm going to put that here. Plus we get a Lost Ledger. I'm going to move that tracker up. Boom, to 2. We need 1 more to be successful on that contract. And that will end her turn, I believe. She moved free action, she skilled free action, and she's not within range to do any attacks. So that is the end of Halbjorn and Mary. For the next turn, I am going to activate Saren, who has 1 HP left. She has 5 focus right now at the end of her last turn. I am going to trigger suppress again, which is the AoE attack, and I'm going to target here for a 3x3 attack, hitting both the leader and the grunt. The grunt has 5 health, he has 4. If I could manage to kill both in one attack here, I would get ahead and finish the scenario by killing the leader. He would run away. Saren would get 2 death blows, achieving her achievement. So this could potentially be huge. So we are going to end up rolling 3 die here, drop her focus to 0, and we are doing suppress. Attack with AoE, inflict, exposed. We have a 5, a 8, and a 4. She hits on a 7+, so that is only 1 hit for 3 damage. Let's draw a blood card, and it is targeting the legs. So on both of those, that's 2 armor, so they're both going to take 1 damage. The blue wrecker's down to 4, and the boss is down to 3. She still has 1 action left, so I think I'm going to just do a regular attack against the blue wrecker and hopefully eliminate him. Okay, rolling 3 die, hitting on a 7+. We have a 9 and an 8, so we have 2 hits for 6 damage. One of them is a crit. Correction, the crit is on, at 9 is on Maeve. Darn it. So, sorry, that's just 2 hits, which is 6 damage, plus the blood card, which is targeting the body where he has 3 armor. So that is 6 damage. 6 damage minus 3. No, hold on. We successfully hit with our AoE last turn, so they have exposed, and all incoming damage when exposed is considered true damage. Let's not forget that. That's why we did suppress, was to inflict exposed. So this 2 hits is 6 true damage to the blue wrecker. He has 4 remaining health, so he is killed. And Saren gets her 3rd goblin head and gets her death blow expert up to 3, 1 away from being achieved. He is off the board, and she has done a skill action and an attack action. She has a move action left, but I think she's fine where she is. And she will finish by gaining 3 focus to finish with 3 focus total. Okay, that leaves us with Maeve, who cannot move from this spot because he has Sentry. If she does, she will get hit, and she only has 2 remaining HP. So let's go ahead and gain her 2 mana on activation for a total of 5. She is going to use Death and Life, attack with +2 range, which puts the leader in range, and will attack with 3 die, hitting on a 7+, critting on a 9. And she gets a 9, an 8, and a 7. That is 3 hits with a crit. That is 9 damage just for fun. We'll take a look. That is 11 damage from the crit. And because they are exposed, that is more than enough true damage to remove the 3 final HP from the boss. And the boss is eliminated. We do not get the heirloom because we'd have to kill him while enraged, but all of my mercs were low on health, so I really didn't want to push our limits. So we kill him, and that ends the scenario. Okay, so we, as a result, gain 20 experience and 10 gold as a reward, and I will put that into our inventory. We also get a roll on Random Recipe Level 2 Loot Table. on page 38. 1 roll per killed grunt. We killed 3 grunts on the humanoid level 1, and 3 rolls on elite level 1 loot table. Okay, let's roll on the elite level 1 table. We get 3 rolls as a result of drops from this scenario. And we have a 10, a 6, and a 6, which correlates to random recipe level 2 and wood times 2, wood times 2. So 4 wood and a random recipe level 2, which is the best thing I think we can get from there. So let's go ahead then instead and do 1 roll per grunt on humanoid level 1. We killed 3, so let's roll that. We get a 4, a 6, and a 5, which is copper, leather, leather. I just figured it out. It says rewards, roll on random recipe level 2 loot table. Random recipe level 2 loot table is right here. So we get to roll on this automatically as a reward, plus we get to do it a second time because that's what we got from the elite. So we can go ahead and roll on this table. There are multiples of some numbers. I presume that means that there's only one of each of these items, perhaps. So if you were to roll 2 8s, you can't get the same thing twice, whereas you could get 2 copper scepters, for example. That's my guess. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll 2, and we'll see where we land. And we have a 6 and a 2. So a 2 is a staff of light, and 6 is vampiric clasp. Okay, so here we have those. We have Vampiric Clasp, which is a accessory that allows lifesteal +2. And we also have the Staff of Light, which has a range of 5, hits on a 7+, inflicts 3 damage. So that is a magical weapon. Not a bad haul. We walked away with 1 copper, 2 leather, 4 wood, a total of 12 gold, 20 experience, and 2 new items. End of battle. Continue to S 1.6 on page 56. And this reads, the Greenskin Butcher outro. We strung up the bastard from the tree closest to his front door. A message to any friends or followers he may have had. Burying the bones would have taken days and erased the crimes the butcher had committed upon the people of the Danemark. So instead we voiced a fleeting prayer and left to tell the farmer his family had been avenged. Continue to the Chapter 1 side quest guide on page 56, which is right here. Go to the page depending on which side quest you just finished in Chapter 1. First side quest, go to 1.4 on page 54. And that reads, Servant of Delmodden outro. While we traveled outside the town, the people of Westarch had their first taste of independence. They helped scavenge for supplies and discovered a small group of holdouts in the basement of an abandoned building near the compound. One of the rescued was Ivel, a priestess of Delmodden, the god of oceans and noble sacrifices. Ivel is an accomplished healer, and she immediately set to cure the ills of the sick and wounded within the compound. Unlock Healer and go to Town Phase on page 24. So now we have the Blacksmith, the Guild, and the Healer unlocked, where we have a minor injury on Maeve. That is a 1 gold cost to heal that. So we'll definitely be doing that in the Town Phase.
Okay, taking a look at our new gear. We see that the Staff of Light is keyed to Wit, which would be for typically a mage. So we're going to take this and replace the Ring of Fire on Mary, and this increases her range of 3 on the Ring of Fire to a 5 on the Staff of Light. So we're going to slot that in instead and remove the Ring of Light. And the Vampiric Clasp is Lifesteal +2, which I believe is just like Leech or any other lifesteal from another game. Every successful hit you would gain 2 HP. So I'm going to put this on Maeve because she's close quarter with her swords and a little bit squishier at 20 HP, and see if that helps keep her up. And there we can see the vampiric clasp now in her accessory slot, as well as lifesteal now worth 2.
Okay, let's enter the town phase. Let's go ahead and visit the healer, Ivel. I'm going to spend 1 gold of our total of 12 and use that to get rid of Maeve's minor injury, preventing her from going up to her max health of 20. She would have been only at 17, so we've removed that. So the injury part I'm going to put at the bottom of the deck. So that's good. The other options are the guild, where you can buy contracts. We haven't fulfilled Lost Ledgers or Goblin Heads yet, so I'm going to leave those alone. They would cost 3 gold anyways to get a new one. Similarly, achievements also cost gold, and we only have 1 left. So I'm going to leave that alone as well. But at the blacksmith, I have a slew of resources. So what I'm going to do for Halbjorn is get copper bracers by crafting it for 1 copper, or you could have bought it for 3 gold. So we're going to buy those for Halbjorn, getting rid of one of our copper resources. We're also going to buy him the copper spear because I have a surplus of wood, and it costs 1 copper and 2 wood. And it is a spear that has range of 1, but I believe that's a typo. I think it's range 2, hits on a 7+ and inflicts 4 damage, with the option to reduce your range to 1 only and attack rate -1, but you get accuracy +1. So we'll get rid of these resources from our inventory. And those will be going to Halbjorn as upgrades from this town phase. Then we're going to spend 10 of our 12 gold, which I'll put over here, to buy leather boots, giving us +1 speed and 1 armor in the leg slot, as well as leather cap for 1 armor in the head slot, and then spend 1 leather to craft leather gloves, giving 1 armor in the hand slot as well as flanking +1, and 3 leather for the, let me just get rid of leather, there we go, for the leather armor for 2 armor, giving us the set of 4 for agility +1, and we're going to slap all of that onto Maeve, as that is her specialization. That is her primary attribute, agility. So this is really going to pimp out Maeve.
So looking at Halbjorn, then we see that we're slotting the bracers in for 2 armor in that slot, and otherwise he is also going to get rid of his main hand runed hammer in favor of the copper spear, which doubles the offense rating from 2 to 4, and may end up increasing his range. I have to look into that. The blacksmith's hammer in the offhand is only helpful for a main hand hammer, so he would not be able to knock back anymore as a result of this build. So for now, I'm going to leave the copper spear here and equip the runed battle hammer, because I'm only 1 away from getting my knockback achievement. Once I've unlocked that, I think I might switch. Now looking at Maeve, she, now that her injury is gone, would restore to 20 health after that scenario, and if we slot in her new leather gloves, she's going to get +1 to flanking, which is a skill we're going to slot in there above lifesteal.
She's also going to get new leather body armor, replacing her starting armor. So her protection or armor value there is going to go up by 2. She's going to get leather boots, which increase her speed to 7 total. And she's going to get leather cap. That completes the set, giving her agility +1 as well. So we have 1, 2, 3 stats to increase as a result of all of that gear. So here you see that now there is flanking 1 and speed of 7. You'll also recall that when we did our first level up for Maeve, her random secondary attribute, she was fortunate in that we rolled agility, which is her primary attribute. So she ended up going from 5 to 6, being 1 away from upgrading. So with this item set here, she gets +1 agility, giving her a total now of 7, bumping her into the higher proficiency category, giving her +4 proficiency in agility. I neglected to increase when we did give her that secondary attribute randomness that got her up to 6 agility. That would have translated to accuracy +1, so she would be hitting on a 6+. So we will change that up there as well. Note that if she gets 1 more agility, she's also going to gain evasion 1 and can start rolling to dodge hits. Now recall that movement, or your speed, is 3 plus your agility proficiency. And the boots we just put on increased us to 7. However, now our base calculation is 3 plus agility proficiency of 4 is 7. So with the boots, our speed for Maeve is now 8. Now Saren's random ability on the leveling up random secondary attribute ended up being wit, as her base wit is 5, and now it is 6. As a result, when you have wit 6, you can see that that gives you spell overpower +1. So I've added that over there. Not that Saren's actually using anything that is a spell attack, but we don't want to forget that she's unlocked that in case we get some new piece of gear that allows her to use spells. Okay, and I don't have the gold to do the achievements or contracts, so I've exhausted what I can do in town right now because I don't have the gold either to go to the tavern to buy a tavern event for 2 gold. So we'll go ahead and determine what our next side quest will be. As you can see from here, we completed the main quest. We then went on to our first side quest, and then we finished by doing the outro at 1.4. So now we're going to go to page 28 to generate our second side quest. Upon completion, we would then head to our next main quest. Per the side quest chart, where we successfully completed Goblin Captain, that is one of the base side quests, 2 or 3. Now, when we go back to the side quests, we automatically get the escalation because we were successful there. So now we would be doing escalation for number 3. And so number 3 tells us to then go in these brackets, go to E1.7 on page 56, and that will generate our escalation event. So here we are going to the escalation 1.7, the Old Ways intro. Our goblin slaying exploits have not gone unnoticed, it would seem, as one of our scouts was found nailed to a tree just outside of Westarch. A roll of parchment was attached to the scout's eye with a dagger, a bloody letter filled with vulgarities and poor penmanship. Kercrack, whoever that is, had issued his challenge in accordance with the old ways, orcish nonsense used to justify slaughter of both friend and foe, putting an end to another goblin leader even if he is an orc, would make the west arch that much safer. Distance 2, and then continue to E1.8. So again, now we would trigger events and then eventually the next scenario, which I'll leave for the next video. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more, please give a like, comment, follow my channel. That way you'll get notified on the next upload of a video. Please comment, let me know what you want to see more of, let me know what I could do better. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.